Happy Friday, happy March, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first March edition of Second Take. It is also our 1 month anniversary. I'm so happy that you all joined us. It's great to have Anthony back on the show. It's always great to see Jill. So let's get right into it because we got a lot of NFL news coming at you. First off, we want to talk about Anquan Boldin and his contract extension, which I completely support. Anquan Boldin is a champion. He's a veteran. He's a great receiver. He's a great presence in the locker room. He's a vertical threat, red zone threat. I think that he's great to have in the 49ers locker room for the rookies who are coming in. I think it's a great decision. I completely support it. Good job, 49ers.
I mean, I love Anquan Boldin. He is probably one of my favorite players in the league. I've even said that he's the best receiver in the league right now. He has a huge body. Like, having him on the field, that is a big presence to have. He catches everything. I mean, he was extremely successful for the Ravens. 49ers are more than lucky to have him. And, they also have Michael Crabtree, but Michael Crabtree also has all of his little drama, and he also thinks he's a lot better than he is. But Anquan Boldin, he's not as cocky as Michael Crabtree, and so he really just does what he needs to do. He gets up there, he catches the ball, he scores his touchdowns. I mean, great choice by the 49ers, and I think they just need to use him even more because he's an amazing, he's a threat. Like, to every single defense, he's a threat because no one can stop him. He's Anquan Boldin.
I mean, regardless, when they played the Seahawks, they were both, Michael Crabtree and Boldin were both stopped, but yeah, like you said, he's a great receiver, good to have in the locker room. I don't think he's the best receiver in the league, and I do think Michael Crabtree is better than him, but that's a different story that we will save for another time, hopefully.
Yeah, some people think Michael Crabtree is mediocre, according to Richard Sherman, and then Jill has her issues with Crabtree because she is a Longhorn, as she's
Sherman didn't lie. He is a mediocre receiver. I mean, what has Michael Crabtree done that is so great? Anquan Boldin is a great receiver. Like, if you just watch him play in games, he is fast. He is so fast, and he catches everything. And Michael Crabtree has yet to impress me in the NFL. I have not been impressed with him. But wow. Anquan Boldin is extremely impressive. Extremely.
Well, yeah, Anquan Boldin has been through a lot. He's played with the Ravens. He's played with now the 49ers. Michael Crabtree is just starting out. What did he get drafted, like 4 or 5 years ago?
Honestly, you act like that just happened.
He's a young player. What I'm saying is he's still a young player. Compared to all these other receivers, he's a young player. Just give him
4 or 5 years. The average NFL career is 8 years. So, I mean, clock is ticking.
I think, well, give him more time. I'm telling you, he's going to be great. He's already
I don't think so. He has a serious attitude problem. And, I mean, Richard Sherman is so respected that if Richard Sherman says this boy is a mediocre receiver, he's a mediocre receiver.
I think that Richard Sherman's comments have a lot more to do than with Crabtree's abilities. I mean, they do have some personal issues. Crabtree is very athletic. He's very talented. I don't think he's one of the best receivers in the league, but I definitely don't agree with your opinion of him that he's unimpressive. I've seen him do some pretty great things on the field.
What has he done in the NFL?
Tell me what he's done. I mean, he hasn't won a ring yet. He's not considered among the best, but he's very talented. There are a lot of players like that who are without rings, but they're pretty
I'm not saying he doesn't need a ring for me to respect him. He needs to actually do things. He runs his mouth like he is one of the best, and he has yet to prove that. So that's what I'm saying. That's my issue with him. Is if you're going to talk that talk, at least play that well, And he's not doing that. He's not doing that at all. So that's why, I mean, I completely disagree with you saying that Crabtree is better than Anquan Boldin, because Anquan Boldin is an amazing receiver. I think he is so underrated, and you could see that when he was on the Ravens. He was amazing in the Super Bowl. He's an amazing player. He's Anquan Boldin. I think the Ravens killed themselves by getting rid of him. Killed themselves. And the 49ers picked up a gem, and they are lucky. They are so lucky to have him because he's incredible. He really is. He's been in the league longer than Crabtree, but that doesn't really, you can take that for what it is. There are players who have been there a year and they can be great. Crabtree is waiting for it to land in his lap, and that's not how it works. So.
Okay, moving on.
I hope that Crabtree impresses you this season because I think he's a great receiver and he's going to do big things this season.
Um,
I'm also looking forward to see what Michael Crabtree does this season with all the Sherman drama that happened and the negativity that's coming from Miss Julian Kushner. But let's move on. We got Brian Orakpo was recently given the franchise tag
Woo!
the Washington Redskins, and I'm sure Jill would like to shed some light on that. So go for it, Jill.
Well, first of all, he's a Longhorn, which is why I clap, because you go, Brian Orakpo, you go. I have a picture with him from back in the day. You know, he's a huge guy. He was known at Texas for having these insane workouts. Like, I remember they did a special on him on ESPN, just of his workout, like just filming his workouts, because he's insane. He's an insane player. Like, he has a big body. There are not many players like him in the NFL, because he's huge and he's fast and he's great. He's had some injury issues, you know, and he plays for the Redskins, which is, you know, they've had their downs lately. But I mean, he's a great player, and he really, I mean, if you're an offense and you're playing against Brian Orakpo, be scared, be very scared, because he can hit you, he'll burst through, like, you never know where he's gonna be. He's like a Ray Lewis, you know. He's going to be on that caliber. And great move by the Washington Redskins. Great move.
I agree as a Redskin fan. I think this was a great thing to happen. Brian Orakpo is a freak, like such a great athlete. And yeah, we've had our downs last season, but don't worry. RG3 having a full off season, training camp, everything. I'm telling you, Redskins are gonna. This has nothing to do with the segment, but my bold prediction for next season in the NFL is the Redskins are winning the NFC East, and they're gonna cause problems in the playoffs.
Wow.
Mark my words.
Well, I respect that. The NFC East is always up in the air. The Cowboys can win one year, the Giants can win, the Eagles. So I mean, the Redskins might win it next year. With a 7-9 record, the Redskins might do it, so you never know. My personal opinion, I agree with this. Defense wins championships, as we saw with the Seattle Seahawks, so building a team around a defensive player is a great decision, in my opinion, especially one of Brian Orakpo's caliber. The Redskins are so hot and cold, so continuity will be nice in keeping him around. RG3 is not a defensive player, but I think that something needs to happen there, too. I mean, he's talented. They need to find somebody to keep him healthy, maybe keep him out longer. Take the Derrick Rose approach, although that didn't work out too well for Derrick Rose. But something needs to happen there to keep RG3 on the field, because when he's on the field, as we see, the Redskins can be a very dangerous team. So we'll see. Let's move on, though. We have a very interesting story. I know last week we discussed the N-word ban, and this week Richard Sherman spoke out about it. He is completely against the N-word being banned in the NFL. And I didn't really look at it from his point of view, but after listening to his comments, I completely get it. To target that one word, it is racist. It is targeting just black people. Historically, it is a bad word, but at the same time, there are other bad words in the English language. So if we're going to ban one, then why don't we ban them all? So after listening to Sherman's comments, and Jason McCourty also chimed in, I agree with Richard Sherman. I don't think that just the N-word should be banned. I think that they should get rid of all curse words. Again, as Ryan Clark said, it's hard to legislate, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand what Richard Sherman is saying, because by zeroing in on just the N-word, what you're giving it is its historical importance. You know what I'm saying? Like, by saying it's just this word you can't say, it's just tying into very old historical references in American history. And I mean, this isn't a history segment, but I could go in on this. But as far as all I'm going to say is that what Richard Sherman said is a very good point. And I think people need to look at it from that perspective, because if they're going to, they should say it's like a cuss word ban. You know, they should make a list of words that are banned. It should not be called the N-word ban. I mean, again, all I'm going to say is I agree with Richard Sherman completely on this.
Yeah, I also agree with just the banning the word in general. And you can't, as an athlete, that's the best part. I'm going to be very honest. That's the best part about smack talking, is being able to curse back and forth with the person who's playing D on you and who you're guarding. That's what I live for. Like, that's amazing. Just to hear them talk. I'm not much of a trash talker, but when I hear other people talk, just gets me going. And just to eliminate all, especially that one, and also you're saying like all curse words, like it's childish. Like, come on, they're grown men. Like,
it is. It's treating them like they're little kindergartners. Like, oh no, don't say that word. I mean, it's that's
Very
a whole different conversation. Is if we're gonna get into like this whole treating the players like children, but childish rule. I mean, have more faith in these guys, really.
I do agree with what Anthony said about them being grown men, and you can't tell them what to say and what not to say. I mean, as I said last week, they're their own person, so they're going to say what they want, and it will be really hard to legislate. Virtually impossible. So
impossible. 100% impossible. Because what's that rep going to go up and say? Like, oh, you just said that, and he's going to be like, no, I didn't. I mean, you don't. What is your proof? You know, it's just. It's going to be messy if they throw penalties at that. Can you imagine how many penalties there are going to be? Do we really want to do that? No.
If not penalties, I see them just like throwing out fines left and right. But it's just like, I mean, it's not. I don't want to say it's just like it, but it's just like banning. If they do ban like marijuana use, like these players are still going to do it. They're still going to say these words and like give them like a fine, like. These people are multi-million-dollar athletes. They're not going to care if they have to pay like a $5,000 fine for saying the N-word. Like, come on. Again, they're grown men.
100%. Yeah, at this point, I think that if they do want to ban these words, then they need to up the punishment to being ejected from a game. Something that will actually give the players incentive to watch what they say on the field. Because
the only players left on the field if they do ejections are going to be all the white players. Everyone else is going to be in the locker room.
I mean, that's a very true and honest point. But, I mean, something needs to happen because just throwing out fines, as Anthony said, these players have millions of dollars. They can pay a fine easily and then go and curse again. So something needs to be done if they really want to ban this word. But let's not harp on that too much. We have other topics to get into. Very interesting, another interesting topic that I saw this week was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers decided to change their uniforms. And I mean, great. Congratulations, whoop-de-doo. You guys can look nice on the field, but if you're not playing
really, like,
you might as well be wearing skirts.
Who watches the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Question number one. Question number two, who cares? I'm sorry, Tampa Bay, but you have done nothing for me to care about what you're doing. I remember it was like a few weeks ago, Adam Schefter tweeted that picture. It was like the new Tampa Bay helmets, and I was like, cool, almost as irrelevant as they are. Because I don't care if they're running around. Yeah, just like you said, they could be running around in dresses and skirts. Okay. If you're not gonna win, I don't care what color your jersey is. I don't care what it looks like, because I promise you, a new jersey is not gonna make you guys win. Y'all aren't gonna win just because you have a new cool jersey. You're still gonna be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And they can stay the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I think this wasn't just like, yeah, they changed the uniform, but more and more people are attracted to uniforms. They'll buy the jerseys because they look good. I don't think this was more of like, oh, we're getting you guys new uniforms, you guys are going to play better. I think this was more of just like, look, we need to get some money in, so we're going to make these beautiful jerseys, and people are going to buy them. And
they aren't beautiful, they're ugly.
No, I think they are
Really?
I think they're really nice.
I agree. I do think they're really nice jerseys, and I think that if you're not winning games, you have to bring money somehow. So I do agree with Anthony's point that this is just it's a business plan, because, I mean, the Buccaneers aren't going to do anything next year. They're probably not going to do anything for the next 5 years, so why not?
A for effort, Tampa Bay. I see y'all trying. Try a little harder is my advice.
Yeah. Some more NFL news we got here. Recently, Devin Hester, the electrifying kick returner from the Chicago Bears, has been released. And, I mean, I guess I understand it. He hasn't done much the past couple seasons. He was a great kick returner when he first came to the league. He was the first kick returner to run back the opening kick in the Super Bowl. They tried him at receiver. He had his peak in 2009 with 757 receiving yards and I believe 57 receptions, 4 touchdowns. But last couple seasons, he hasn't really done much. I mean, I still think he's very talented and he can still do the things he used to do. But I kind of get the move.
It broke my heart because I've always liked the Bears. I don't call myself a Bears fan. I am a supporter, and I love Devin Hester. I'm pretty sure he's had 19 career kick returns for touchdowns or something around that number, which is insane. I mean, he has made history. His name is in the record books. because he has field vision like no other. And I mean, I do understand what you're saying. Like, he has, you know, he hasn't really done anything impressive, but also the Bears haven't been very impressive. He hasn't had a good cast, but it made me so upset because it's the end of an era, you know. Brian Urlacher is no longer on the Bears, and now they don't have Devin Hester. The Bears that everybody loved, everybody supported, is no longer there. So it's a new organization basically, and I think without Devin Hester, it's gonna hurt them because people love to go to see Devin Hester. Like, is he gonna return it? Like, I remember even though if he hasn't done it in a while, every time there's a kick return, the camera's on him. It's that zoomed up of his face. What's he gonna do? You know, because everybody loves that because he could run that thing back at any moment. Yeah. He's great. I mean, I really hope someone else picks him up. I hope this isn't the end for him. He's an awesome player. He's so fun to watch.
It's definitely not the end for him. So many teams lose games, fall behind in games because they don't have good special teams. That's a big part in the NFL. You have to have a good special teams overall. And I'm going to be honest, there's teams like the Redskins who have no kick returners and they get to the 15-yard line every time. Just hypothetically speaking, if you can put Devin Hester in that situation, the Redskins just get elevated just a little more because their special teams just got a lot better. And I don't think the team is definitely going to scoop him up in free agency. Definitely. Even though he's not the best receiver, he's still jet fast. He can still do one-on-one straight. Like he'll find a place.
It's his presence, you know. It's like it intimidates defenders because you don't know what he could do. You know, just that is enough for a team. And I would love any team to pick him up. Every team could use him. Just like you said, special teams is crucial. It's crucial. So, I mean, I'm really shocked that the Bears let him go. I don't understand that move, but.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He definitely still has values as a kick returner. As I said before, those talents just don't go away. A lot of teams are in need of good kick returners to set off their offense, get them good field position so they can move down the field and score. So I do hope Devin Hester gets picked up. I think he will. I think there's some team that will be looking to enhance their special teams, and Devin Hester is the guy for it. So best of luck to him in his future endeavors. Let's move on to Champ Bailey, who was recently released by the Denver Broncos. I support this move as well. I think Champ Bailey is one of the greatest defensive backs to ever play in the NFL. I do think that also he's gotten old, and we saw the Ravens expose him in the playoffs in 2013. Torrey Smith got like 3 catches on him. I believe 2 were for touchdowns. He's lost a lot of ability, and that comes with age. So the Broncos made a really good move in releasing him, freeing up some cap room. Maybe they can bring in another defender or someone can step up because they definitely have young guys waiting to get their opportunity. So, Champ Bailey, best of luck to you, but I do agree with the Broncos on this move.
You know, I see what you're saying, I do, and the issue I had with this is Champ Bailey is extremely respected. I mean, he's, just like you said, he's a great player. His first name's Champ. He's a champ, you know. He's awesome. Champ Bailey, I love him. I think he's a fun player to watch. You know, you never know what he's going to do. But he is getting old. And I do understand that, you know, the Broncos need to bounce back from last year's disappointment, and they need someone on defense. Clearly they need defense because that was an issue. And but the issue I had with this is that they didn't let Champ Bailey resign. I think for someone who is as respected as Champ Bailey, you need to let him say, I'm resigning, you know. I don't think that it should be like, you should let him retire. Let him have the respect from everybody, not be like, he got let go. It's just, I think it's like an ego killer, honestly. And Champ Bailey, someone else could pick him up, but then it's just going to be like that game, you know, where he's coming back doing nothing, you know, and it would have just been better if they had let him be like, hey, I'm retiring. I want to thank everybody and be done with his career. But he's a great player. It's an end of an era without him.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's sad to see that, but it's also a great move for the Broncos. Think about all the greats. Jerry Rice, at the end of his career, he didn't say they cut ties and he went to the Raiders. Joe Montana, he left the 49ers. It's nice to go out with the team you played for, but sometimes he clearly wasn't. I don't think the Broncos just said, hey, we're going to release you. I think it was like a mutual agreement, like, yeah, we're going to release you. I'm pretty sure they notified him. He's not finding this out today. Like,
Yeah.
it was a mutual cut, and they just released him, and he's going to end up on a team. He's going to play. Is he going to be great? No, but like Jill said, it's just the end of an era for Champ Bailey, and that's pretty much it to it.
Yeah, he's definitely a great presence to have in the locker room, so I completely see some teams signing him to a one-year contract just to have him around, see if they can make a Super Bowl run. So, Champ Bailey, like I've said about every other player, best of luck to you in your future endeavors. Let's move on. This week, Adrian Peterson tweeted something that I found very interesting. Honestly, this whole week was interesting to me. There weren't huge stories, but there were some pretty interesting things that happened. Adrian Peterson tweeted that Michael Vick would make the Minnesota Vikings a playoff team. Now, I have a lot to say about that. One, that's a very true statement, in my opinion, despite the fact that Michael Vick is so injury-prone. I think that Michael Vick still has a lot in the tank. He's so talented. When you think dual-threat quarterbacks, as we've discussed many times on this show, I think of Michael Vick. Mm-hmm. I think that he still has a lot of talent left in him. He's only 34 years old. That's not that old. He can still do a lot. And then he's a veteran, and I think that he could lead the Vikings to the playoffs. I just think that they have to do something to keep him healthy, because the last time he played all 16 regular season games was 2006, and he was still an Atlanta Falcon. So something needs to happen. I mean, he hasn't completely parted ways with the Eagles yet, but if the Vikings were to bring him in, there's no guarantee they'll have him on the field the whole season for the playoffs. So,
I mean, I love the Vikings. I call myself a Vikings supporter because Adrian Peterson is my favorite player in the NFL. Despite the fact he's a Sooner, we've gotten over it. So I love Adrian Peterson. He is, first of all, he's an incredible player. He is going to go down as one of the best running backs in the history of football because he's incredible. I mean, that's it. He's the best running back in the league. He's amazing. And the fact he is on a team that can't even get him to the playoffs, can't even get him to the Super Bowl. I mean, he is the Vikings, you know. They want to keep him, but they need to bring in people to help him. Michael Vick would be an awesome pick because the Vikings have never had a good quarterback. It is so frustrating because I sit there watching them, and it's just not there, you know. You do need a good quarterback because Adrian Peterson is amazing. He can do it all day. That's his name. But he can't do it all, you know, especially in football, you know. You need to get some passes in there, and they don't have quarterbacks who can throw. They don't have this. Michael Vick is, I mean, he's a monster. He's great, but his injuries are a problem. They are a very serious problem, but I do think the Eagles, as an Eagles fan, I do think the Eagles are going to stick with Nick Foles instead of Michael Vick because Nick Foles is successful. I mean, he came out of nowhere, and he's just rocking it, and you know, it's kind of annoying to deal with Michael Vick getting injured all the time. I don't know what that's about. Maybe he just has weak bones. I don't know. But if the Vikings were to pick up Michael Vick, which I definitely think they should do, they should also look for a quarterback in the draft. They do need a good second-string quarterback behind Michael Vick because when he gets injured, which he will, they need someone else. And, you know, he is getting older, and I think his years in the NFL are dwindling down. So if there's a time to pick up Michael Vick, it's now. It's now.
Yeah, Michael Vick is a great quarterback, but if he goes to the Vikings, he can potentially make them a playoff team. But like you guys have both been saying, injury is the thing you keep bringing up. If Michael Vick goes to the Vikings and they make it to the playoffs, there's no guaranteeing that Michael Vick is going to play in that playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, it's just a big risk factor. Would you rather? I mean, it wouldn't hurt picking, like, if you get the chance, picking him up, drafting a decent quarterback in the draft, and like bringing him under Michael Vick's belt because he's a veteran. He's been there for a while. He's played the game of football. He knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching him just a little bit because he does have a lot to give in the tank, but damn, he just always gets hurt, and that's huge.
Yeah,
it's a big risk to pick up a quarterback thinking, oh, he hasn't played a full season since 2006.
That's insane. I mean, Mike Vick, man, he needs more calcium or something. Those bones are weak. I don't know what's with him.
Yeah.
Drink your milk.
Yeah, definitely. I think that he definitely needs to find some way to stay healthy because those injuries, he just won't get anywhere with the team if he keeps getting hurt. I do think the Vikings need to pay attention to Adrian Peterson's tweet. The fact that your franchise player is looking for other quarterbacks is a sign that you should be looking for other quarterbacks. Ponder is not the guy for the job. So I do hope that the Vikings do look into the free agency, or even Michael Vick if he parts ways with the Eagles, and the draft as well, as you both have mentioned. But let's move on. We have some NCAA football news with Everett Golson of Notre Dame, and Jill is going to discuss that for us.
Yeah, so Everett Golson, remember, he was a Notre Dame quarterback, and last season, I mean, he didn't play this past season because he was suspended for academic problems. He did admit to Sports Illustrated that he cheated, so that's why he didn't get to play. He returned to the team in spring practice. You know, he's back in practice, back with the team. He said he's feels slightly embarrassed. So he's going to be a redshirt junior. He, you know, he has to compete back for the quarterback spot. You know, he's basically starting brand like anew. You don't know where this will go. He was a good quarterback, but as far as whether he can bounce back after a season off, it was a very weird and mysterious kind of situation. A lot of teams tried to pick him up. Like a lot of other schools were trying to get him to transfer, but he made it clear, I'm staying with Notre Dame. So he'll be back next season. Whether he's good, bad, starting, we don't know. We'll just have to see that in the practices this spring.
Yeah, that was clearly an embarrassing moment for him to admit, not just to admit to it, but to get caught doing it, and then having him sit out a whole season. But I think he's going to come back. He is going to be the starting quarterback for Notre Dame at the start of the season. The fact that a bunch of schools offered for him to transfer and he said, no, I'm sticking with Notre Dame, shows that he's dedicated. He's going to be. I don't think he's been sitting just down, just watching life pass by. He's been working. He's going to come back, and I think he's going to come back better than he was before. I don't think Notre Dame overall is a good football team, but I don't think they're going to make much noise. But Everett Golson will be the starting quarterback, and they will be a solid team come college football season.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate story to see that he had to sit out because of academics, but I feel like a lot of college athletes think that, just because I'm a D1 athlete, I don't really need to focus on my academics as much. And, I mean, you never know when you'll get hurt, and you never know if you'll always have football or baseball or basketball to rely on. So I think that academics should be taken important. I definitely advise him not to cheat anymore. I advise no college athletes to cheat because it gets you nothing. But as for the point of his performance next year, I think he'll be all right. I think that he'll get the starting job back. I think him showing his dedication to Notre Dame by not transferring and all that, I think that he'll be pretty good. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. Mm-hmm. Overall, NCAA, they shot down that hurry-up offense rule, the one that we mentioned last week. Where
thank God.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's great that rule wasn't put into place. I didn't agree with it. I think that the hurry-up offense is a very great part of football, and it gives you an advantage, and it's great. So I support this. Thank you, NCAA, for doing that.
Yeah, you know, NCAA, good job. You did something well. I'm proud of y'all because you would have pissed off millions of people very quickly. I know you would have pissed off the entire state of Texas, and you never want a bunch of angry Texans. That's all I'm going to say.
I think it was good, but think about for a second how many more quarterbacks would be more NFL ready if they didn't depend on the. I agree. I was happy that they banned the rule because that's what makes college football so exciting is the pace of it. But so much more of these quarterbacks will learn the actual pace of the NFL and will be more NFL ready to come into the league if this rule was if the take place.
I don't know if that's true because I remember I saw this stat one time that in an NFL game you're only actually playing for 20 minutes, and I mean that's not good because if this is supposed to be the professional league of football, why are you guys only actually playing for 20 minutes in that whole entire game? So, I mean, there's the difference between the college football and pro football is the clock rules. We know that, the clock runs a lot more, and so it's just not as high speed. And just like you said, that's why people like college football. I don't think that necessarily means that the quarterbacks would be more prepared, because if anything, they get more of a break in the NFL. They get to chill out a little bit more in the games because it's not as fast paced. So I don't know if I really see that correlation between the two.
Fair point.
Fair point, definitely. Yeah, so I'm definitely glad that rule was shot down. I think we've discussed enough football for today. Now let's move on to some NBA talk. We saw Mr. King LeBron James put up 61 points on the ever so difficult opponent, the Charlotte Bobcats. Oh,
okay, 62 points. Good job, LeBron. You go. Woo! But Charlotte Bobcats, really?
Can we give the best player in the world some credit?
I'm giving him credit. I said good job. I gave him 2 thumbs up. It's the Bobcats, man. It's the Bobcats.
Melo, my second favorite player, scored 62 on the Bobcats. Probably had one of the best shooting nights in terms of percentages in his whole career. LeBron.
Okay, but it's still the Bobcats.
But you can't deny the fact that they're NBA players. They're not just like scrubs you're picking up from the street. Like, you're not picking up me, Armand, and a couple of our friends to go play the Miami Heat. They're high quality. They're high-quality athletes, and he put on a phenomenal shooting display. 6 from 8 from 3. He was in luck. Like, this was career high 61 points. This is one of the only times I've seen him besides Game 6 in Boston was when I've ever seen LeBron so locked in. He was just on. And
it's an amazing thing. To score that many points is amazing. But just as a Kobe fan, let me add, Kobe scored 81 one game, and 62 points. He scores that after 3 quarters. So let me just lay that down. And then after that, the Heat went on to lose to the Rockets and to the Spurs. So maybe LeBron was feeling really, really confident. 60-something points. But they lost to the Rockets, which I loved, because I love the Rockets. And then the Spurs, losing to the Spurs was a big deal because it wasn't a close game. The Rockets game was a close game. Like, it was within a few points, but they lost to the Spurs by like 20 points or something. And that was the reason that was a big deal is because it was the whole finals rematch, because I guess the Spurs had a chip on their shoulder. They didn't forget about it, and they went on and they beat the Heat. They beat them. They beat them pretty well. So.
Very true point. I think that anyone would be confident when playing against the Bobcats. I think I could maybe put up 10 points against them.
No, I'm going to interject and say you cannot put up 10 points against the Bobcats. Like, not even maybe you can get yourself a little pump fake and get fouled, but you'll go to full foul shots.
Hey, man, you give me 10 open jump shots, I'll make 3 of them. But anyways, enough about me. The Heat did lose to the Spurs and the Rockets. LeBron had a terrible performance against the Spurs. After the game, he was complaining about the short-sleeve jerseys. Really?
Yeah, LeBron, that's why y'all lost, because of your short-sleeve jerseys.
For starters.
Why? Who put the mic in his face for him to say that? LeBron, think!
LeBron James hasn't been, nobody looks at him for being a great shooter. And he admitted to that. He said, I forgot exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of, I don't shoot well as it is, and the short sleeve shirt just made it more uncomfortable. And if you look at, I was watching, I think it was SportsCenter, and they put a stat of when LeBron wore the t-shirt and when he didn't, he was shooting terribly with the shirt. I'm not making excuses for the guy, I'm just saying.
I'm rolling my eyes. First of all, I'm rolling my eyes at SportsCenter because they kiss the ground he walks on. We all saw those memes on Twitter after LeBron scores 61. What does SportsCenter look like? LeBron scores 61. Oh. LeBron scores 61. That's all anyone cared about. That's all they spoke about. I didn't even want to watch SportsCenter. But the fact that that's not a stat. There's so many other things that could be playing into it. I really don't think that the short sleeve shirt impacted you that much, LeBron. Oh. I think you need to man up and get over it. It's a shirt. Everyone else deals with it, so you need to deal with it.
that was exactly my next point. Like, I'm not making excuses for him because the whole San Antonio Spurs played with a short sleeve jersey. So it's not like he was the only one wearing it. It's not an excuse, but
SportsCenter wanted to make the excuse. They wanted to blame the loss on something else. It couldn't just be that LeBron lost. It was LeBron lost because of the shirt.
no,
And
they got beat down. No,
that's my beef. That's my beef with SportsCenter right now. It's because LeBron didn't lose because of a shirt. He lost. They lost. The Heat lost.
they
End of story.
they didn't just lose. They got pretty hammered. It was a bad game.
Yeah, the Heat were destroyed. I don't want to credit it to the shirts. I want to credit it to the fact that the Spurs were the better team last night, and we saw the result of that. So I mean, maybe we'll see a finals rematch. Doubt it, because
I don't doubt it.
Go ahead.
I don't doubt it. I think the best team in the West, regardless of you being an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, the best team in the West is still the San Antonio Spurs when healthy. Once crunch time to play, okay, you guys can say what you want, but when it comes time to crunch time, and it comes
They're
time,
not even the best team in the state of Texas. The Rockets are better than the Spurs.
debatable.
That isn't debatable. That's a fact.
Very debatable.
That's not even under debate.
Okay.
Well, I definitely have to say that the Spurs in the playoffs, they're probably the team you don't want to see in the playoffs.
Exactly.
They bring it all together. Tony Parker plays completely different in the playoffs than he does in the regular season. Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, that whole team comes together and they play great basketball in the playoffs. So regular season, I think OKC is the best team. Playoffs, I'm scared if OKC has to play the Spurs. I'm completely scared. And
Why? Because all these teams that are fast and young and quick, the only team that knows how to slow down their pace is the San Antonio Spurs, and that's why I'm sticking with them to win the Western Conference Finals.
I don't see it happening, man.
Win in 6. Spurs.
A lot of my friends would love that you just said that, but I don't agree. I don't see the Spurs doing it again. I mean, I don't know.
They have the same exact team. And
I know, but they're a year older.
Kawhi Leonard is only 22, and he's there's nobody in the NBA that gives LeBron more problems than Kawhi Leonard. He's 6'7". He's long. He's reached.
But if you're talking about the Western Conference, think of everybody else they have to beat out.
OKC.
I thought it through, and I see them beating all the teams virtually that they have to face.
No, I don't.
I'm shooting that down. They're not gonna. They can't do that, man. They can't do that.
No, they're not going to beat the OKC Thunder because, as we've seen, OKC just had a little 3-game win streak before a little loss to the Suns last night. Russell Westbrook put up a triple-double. Kevin Durant had like 42 points in a couple of those games. So OKC is looking pretty good. I think that
he's scoring 40-plus points almost every game. You can't. I mean, who on the Spurs would stop Kevin Durant?
Kawhi Leonard.
No, Kawhi Leonard cannot stop Kevin Durant.
Okay, all right. Listen, all I'm saying is we've seen this before. We've seen the Thunder.
We saw it once.
We've seen the Thunder dominate in the playoffs. I mean, in the regular season, and then fall short. And until they prove me wrong, I'm going to keep saying that they're going to fall short. And the Spurs are going to be the dominant team in the West because of their experience, their abilities on defense, and their team play on offense. Nobody plays offense like the San Antonio Spurs.
I mean, if you're looking right now, OKC and the Rockets are the only thing on my radar.
wow.
That's.
I wouldn't go that far because I think that the great thing about the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs is that anyone can be the star at any time. Kawhi Leonard could drop 30. Ginobili could drop 30. Duncan could put up a lot of points. They have 12 players who can be threats at any point in the game, in any game. So that's one reason why I fear the Spurs whenever OKC has to play them, because there are just so many threats on that team. I wouldn't say that they're not in the same class as the Rockets or OKC. I know you didn't say those exact words, but that's kind of what you alluded to, that OKC and the Rockets.
No, I mean, I do have a lot of respect for the Spurs because, just as you said, all their players can show out, and OKC and the Rockets don't have that. I mean, that's just a fact. If their bench players are in, it's boring, you know. I mean, the Spurs are probably one of the most complete teams, but I just don't see them being able to compete with that. You know, as you said, they do slow down the other team, but I mean, how much can you slow down a team that's just going to keep going and going and going? Like, I don't know if they can match up.
One more point, that the only team that every single team in the West should be scared for besides the Spurs is the Los Angeles Clippers.
Lob City.
Not just Lob City. I think the addition of Danny Granger is really good for them for when playoff time comes.
They destroyed the Lakers last night. I didn't want to bring that up. The Clippers rocked the Lakers.
The only team, I think the only team the Spurs fear is, I don't think they fear any team, but the only team that I see that could beat the Spurs in the West in a 7-game series is the Clippers.
Wow. Clippers are on fire. I completely agree. I think a lot of people don't even put that on their radar. But the Clippers, you go to play the Clippers, you know you're about to get embarrassed by Blake Griffin dunking on you, DeAndre Jordan dunking on you, Chris Paul, running right past you. You're entering a game to be embarrassed at some point. Even if you come out with the W, you will still have your pride shot a little bit. Because when they dunk on you, when they speed past you, you feel a little sad. And I understand that because they're going to make you feel that way. And they are a team to be feared because, man, they come out hot.
Yeah, the Clippers are very underrated. They have a great bench. They have great pieces. Danny Granger is a perfect addition to that bench. They have a shooter. They have a veteran. They have someone who can bring a good locker room presence, along with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Jay Crossover, Jamal Crawford, one of the most underrated six men. I don't know if he's still playing six man for them, but I know that he's doing great things. And when he's on the court, you have to be aware of where he is because you don't know what's going to happen. So
a lot of people don't respect the Clippers, I think, because they just think of them as Lob City. Yeah. Clippers, I think, are one of the funnest teams to watch because you're always going to get some great dunk. I tuned into that game for just a few minutes last night, and I saw Blake Griffin just slam it down, and I was just like, Lakers everywhere, just like crying a little bit. But they are fun to watch, but it's not just about the dunking because they get it done. They get points. A dunk isn't gonna do that, They can shoot, and I don't think people respect them in that sense. They see them as the fun team to watch, but I don't think they respect them as shooters, and they are shooters. They can shoot.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely agree. So on that note, I think that we should just wrap up with some March Madness talk. I've said all I need to say about Syracuse. They just lost to UVA, and they just lost to Georgia Tech. So, I don't really think I have more to say. Wichita State and Duke, just watch out for them. That's all I got to say.
Duke's playing UNC again pretty soon. We'll see what happens in that rematch. March, and the regular season's almost over. I don't even know what could happen. I'm glad Texas is going to be in the tournament this year. Finally. Last year was pretty embarrassing that we didn't even make it. So, if I'm going to be honest with y'all, we don't play well away from home, so I don't see us going past the first round. So, bracketologists out there, don't put Texas too far because I'm even saying it's not going to happen. But, once we get that first round going, I think we're going to have a lot to discuss on here about who's going to win what, upsets to look for. I think Wichita State, when you're going into that with such a hot record like they are, awesome to them. Awesome. Great season.
Yeah.
But everyone is out to get you. Everyone. And that's the hot seat. You don't want to be in that spot.
I'm a UNC boy. I think UNC will make a lot of noise in the tournament. And Jabari Parker is my favorite player, which is why I chose to wear this shirt underneath. Jabari Parker and the Duke Blue Devils are going to be national champions.
So wait, you're a UNC fan, but you love a Duke player?
I've been following Jabari Parker for a while. He's been my I don't usually watch highlight tapes of kids, but I've watched Jabari Parker for a while. I love Jabari Parker, and I have faith in him that he will lead his team to the national championship because he's that good.
I could see Duke doing it. I could definitely see Duke doing it.
But they will lose to UNC tonight. or whenever they play. They're going to lose.
All
Yeah,
right.
Anthony, I really appreciate you saying how you think Duke is going to win because it's good to be a realistic fan. And I don't want to go back to Syracuse, but I feel like Syracuse fans aren't realistic with themselves. They
Man,
only
lay off
how well they're doing
Syracuse.
this season. They don't think about how in the tournament, yeah, they go far, but they always disappoint. I think they need to just come to terms with the fact that Syracuse is a great regular season team, but in the tournament, they can't get it done, and they're not going to get it done. So I think Anthony being
Armand, you gotta lower the hate a little bit, man. Let them live. Let them live. You know, if they want to say they're gonna win it all, let them say it. That doesn't hurt you. But I do respect you being a realistic fan. It's very hard to say that your rival, your arch enemy, is gonna win it all. I sure would never say that about OU in football. I would say anybody else would win other than them, even if they are the best team. But as far as I'm concerned, we do also have to look at the Big 12 teams going in. I mean, Kansas State and Kansas, they're going to make some noise. Definitely going to make some noise in the tournament. I think they're going to go a lot farther than people expect. I could see some Big 12 dominance in, like, the Elite Eight, Final Four. But we never know what could happen. That's the thing about March Madness, is it is madness.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, on that note, I'd like to wrap up. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on the show again. Always great to have you. You're always welcome to come back. Jill, always great to see you. Thank you for a month with Second Take. March Madness is coming up. We're so excited. We'll have lots of college basketball to talk to you guys about. So tune in next week, Friday, 3 p.m., Second Take.
Or 2 p.m. Southern time.
Right, of course. Have a good one, guys.